Hello, I'm Nathan Leahy and welcome to Next Week in Gaming. So our first release this week is by a guy called Richard Seabrook, and this is a fan-approved sequel to the original Half-Life sort of side story game Opposing Force. This is a game called Prospect, and it's coming out sometime in February 2016, so close, next couple of weeks. And as I said, this is an entire game made by one guy. It follows on the storyline from Opposing Forces. It has full voice acting, it has 13 levels, new mods, new textures, new UI, everything. It's all been built from the ground up, and it's looking pretty good overall in terms of quality. Obviously, Half-Life 3 probably not coming out any point soon, if ever. So hopefully this is something that will keep Half-Life fans tied over for a little while. Obviously, it's not going to feature Gordon Freeman, but instead you're going to be playing as the Marines that are sent to assist him while he's being cornered by the Combined Forces. And basically, it's just going to continue on from there. So it looks like it's pretty good quality. As I said, the textures have been updated, UI's been updated, everything's being updated. And for Valve to actually approve this, it has to be in pretty good nick. Otherwise, they wouldn't let someone monetize something like this because it is a paid-for game. So interesting things are coming. Releasing on Tuesday the 9th of February is Unravel, a game by Coldwood Interactive and most bizarrely published by EA. Now, you've probably seen this blasted out on PR channels all over the place, Rock Paper Shotgun, IGN, all that stuff. And this is a nice little indie style game, very, very good looking. The environments are fantastic, water, physics, everything is wonderful. And it's a really, really well polished game, judging by the gameplay videos. And it's more of a puzzler, and it's closer to what Ubisoft did with games like Grow Home and Child of Light, where it's more of a pleasant story as opposed to a hyper-realistic, gritty, green, brown, grey shooter. Hopefully, as it's being published by EA, we won't see any crap like season passes or day one DLC. And, you know, provided EA keep their nickel and diming mitts off, this actually looks like a reasonably awesome game. You're going to be playing Yanni, this little character made entirely of one long length piece of string or thread or wool or whatever the hell it is. And you're going to be making your way through these really awesome environments and following on like this backstory related to a long gone family. So it all looks like it could be a really, really wonderful game, provided EA don't balls it up. Next up on the 12th of February is a game by Glassknuckle Games. This is called Defragmented. This is a game that borrows quite a lot of nice things from all over the place, a few different genres, and it's quite directly inspired by games like Satellite Rain, Hotline Miami, and it's got a little bit of Kung Fury in there too because it features some soundtrack from that Kickstarter film, which is awesome. You should watch it. This game is a top-down shooter, a little bit of 3D stuff going on there, tons of neon lights in cyberpunk style, awesome soundtrack going on there, and basically it's got a little bit of character progression going on with some RPG elements, as well as a sort of procedural loot system. It's very, very fast paced, so it is going to be Hotline Miami style combat when it comes to just obliterating things with bright shiny lasers, but equally going to be crippling in that if you fail you're just going to die very, very quickly in that Hotline Miami style as well. So it looks really awesomely pretty, a little bit more heavily graphically orientated than Hotline Miami, but still that sort of core fast-paced shooter experience. So it should be pretty entertaining. Also releasing on Friday the 12th of February is a game by Calvin Weibel, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that, and this is called Doors. Now this is a game that is quite directly inspired by games like Portal and Stanley Parable, which is mentioned by the developer himself, and basically the concept of this game is very, very similar to Stanley Parable, and you know, draws some very direct gameplay parallels to just sort of those two specific games. You can see some of the office space stuff is quite like Stanley Parable, and you go through these doors and sort of complete these challenges which sort of feel a little bit scientific and quite logical puzzles in terms of Portal style. So this game is sort of like a wedge between these two, sort of semi-self-aware but also at the same time serious, humorous, and also a little bit dark. So the basic premise of this is you are dumped in this very sort of dark, steamy, cavey looking place, and there's a bunch of doors, 2, 4, maybe even 20, and they'll have little bits of writing and little clues which tell you which is the right door. One door leads to death, the other leads to bacon, which I assume is the replacement for cake, because bacon is incredibly popular on the internet for some unknown reason, probably because it's so tasty. So it's going to be one of those types of puzzlers, sort of going to be a mashup between whether you prefer the Stanley Parable side or whether you prefer the Portal side. Hopefully it gets a nice mix of features from the two. Our review for next Thursday on the 11th of February will be Firewatch. This is a game I've been sort of staring at for a very, very long time, mainly because the screens, despite it's not particularly high graphical fidelity, it looks absolutely fabulous. This game just looks spot on when it comes to art direction. And in this game, it's sort of a mystery first-person sort of storyline thing. So closer to Ethan Carter than it would be to, say, The Forest in terms of horror and actual sort of gameplay interaction. But it's still quite interesting. You play a guy who's a fire watcher, basically sat on top of a mountain, looking across the wilderness, ensuring that there's no smoke and basically keeping the forest in good nick. And the only person you have any social contact with is a woman called Delilah, and she's on the other side of the radio. And the whole purpose of this game is for you to explore these things, explore these mysteries, and sort of make a connection with this woman's voice on the other side of the radio and make decisions which may affect that. So it should be quite a thought-provoking game, but also at the same time I'm hoping to be entertained. We don't just want another walking simulator. It's very easy to err on the side of sit back and watch. I do want to be engaged, but it looks brilliant, it looks wonderful, so I'm definitely hoping that our review sheds a bit of a positive light on that one. So that's it from us on Next Power Up. Join us next week on Thursday for our weekly review of Firewatch, and of course on Saturday for our next Week in Gaming episode. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys have been playing. For me, it's been pretty much review and Magic the Gathering. Been a pretty busy week. Not much in the way of PC games. Just been buying and selling cards and messing around, and played some board games last weekend as well, which is actually quite good. Played a game called Dead of Winter. Fantastic board game if you get a chance to play that. So anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week.